So today I have my friend Marisa Buzis.
Yes.
She actually reached out to me talking about how she felt that it would be good for her to talk about some of her traumas, talk about some of her healing processes. And people have always said that you should start like a talk show or like some kind of podcast. What's your story? Like, where do you come from?
Where do I start? The roots. Gotta go down to the roots. I was raised by a single mom for a minute, meaning a minute until I think about 1 or 2 from what they told me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a father come into my life, and he took on the responsibility at 17, which I think is huge.
Yeah, very young.
And they are still together. I believe I've almost lost track, which numbers is my thing. I don't know how I lost track, but I know they hit 30 a while back, a couple years ago. They might be getting closer to about 35 years of marriage.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's big. I come from a very tight-knit, close family. They are my sanctuary. They're everything to me. My dad, he kind of was trying to figure out where he was at, I think, with life and being so young. I mean, at 17, I think back to that and I'm like, you don't even know who you are at 17.
Oh my gosh, yeah, 17. I couldn't imagine. My birth father was 17 when I was conceived. And yeah, I couldn't imagine. That's very young. And there's people out there that even could be watching this that have had kids that age or younger, right? My birth mother was 15 when she had me. And yeah, it's just daunting.
Very.
Yeah.
Agree. The great word. Yes. That's definitely daunting. I was always really stubborn, kind of a hothead a little bit.
Sure. Me
and my dad clashed a lot because I think we're so much alike in ways, but we're so polar opposite at the same time. Mm-hmm. When I turned 18 and I thought I was, I knew everything. I was 18, I was an adult. We kind of got into it once and he kicked me out and I left for a week and disappeared. I went to my so-called friend's house and just was like, hey, here I am homeless. Can I be here on your couch for a week? Or I don't know how long it's going to be, but I believe it was about 7 days. And finally I wrote my mom, and at the time I was under the influence of something. I can't tell you what it was. I think some type of prescription that wasn't prescribed to me.
Sure.
I called her up. She's like, I can't understand you. I can't even hear what you're saying. And I was crying to her and I was like, you chose him over me. Now, with as rude and selfish as that was at the time, I think back to it and I'm like, he's been there. She didn't choose anybody. And like, there's that balance between when you have children and you have somebody else come into your life. Like, I personally have done it myself, going through that. I've gone through it.
It's hard.
And it's very hard to juggle, and it's very hard to, it's not that you're choosing, it's just what you're going to maybe allow. I feel like when you're falling for somebody or you're going through something, you're like so distracted by that. It's not that you forget that they're there and that they're important. It's just trying to find that balance of making it fair for everybody and making it equal and making everybody feel like they have the love and attention that they need.
Right.
But I almost, in my experience, kind of forgot that a little bit. And it's something that's very hard to talk about a little bit, but I want to talk about it. I always go back to my experience with my parents and what they went through and how much I love and respect them so much for the way that they raised us and let us kind of be.
In what ways would you say that your dad was like abusive, either knowingly or unknowingly?
Unknowingly, he was a yeller. He yelled a lot. He had zero patience, in my opinion. He would go from 0 to 60, and it was really hard for him to maybe comprehend or understand. And it was like, I'm not proud of it. I had a really bad mouth on me. I was very mouthy. I talked back a lot. But I look back at it, and I look back at him. It was mental abuse. I remember at one point, we were going at it and arguing, and my little brother and sister growing up, they're like, you never knew when to shut up. You never shut up. It didn't matter. You just kept going and you pushed him and you pushed him and you never knew when to stop. It just hurts because I want him to know that I forgive him for it. And I'm not. When I first became a mom, I picked that up. I started to yell at my son.
Right.
I was screaming.
Yes.
Like a psycho. And I'm like, he's a little child. What are you doing? Like, this is not okay.
Yeah.
And I stopped. And I mean, I'm a loud person anyway. It's the Greek side maybe. And I remember when I met my fiance, for the first time I did that in front of him, I think I scared him a little bit. My son was on the stairs coming down. I don't remember what it was over, but man, it was scary.
Yeah.
And I know my son remembers those things. He has to. He brings up things when he was 2 or 3, and I'm just like, and I always, tell him I'm sorry. And we sit down and we discuss things, and I try to explain that was on emotion, and I'm still learning.
You're kind of touching into the realm of like generational curses. Yelling can be really dramatic.
Yes.
Like it can really like ignite that fight or flight.
For sure.
Right? And I was yelled at a fair share. And I have seen myself as a parent doing the same thing, right? A lot of the things that I don't like or didn't like about my parents growing up, I have adopted. I feel like as parents now, we have that responsibility to really understand and see what it's done to us. And once we understand what it's done to us, then I think we have more motivation to not do it to our children. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. I noticed quickly that it didn't really work. It just kind of shut him down. I mean, I guess you could count that as working in a way, but not in a good way,
Not in a good way.
No, not in a good way at all. And I was like, oh, that's not okay. Like, he's going to feel that he can't express his emotions, or he can't tell me how he feels. And I don't ever want him to feel like he cannot come to me for anything and everything, because
Right.
I want to be that person. And I make it so I'm adamant about it. When I'd start crying, I was told to go to my room. Go to your room. I don't want to hear you cry. Go to your room.
Yep.
What does that tell you? That your emotion's not welcome here. Go to your room. I don't want to hear it. So what would I do? Go in my room, get on my bed, and I'd kick my wall. I would kick the shit out of my wall. He'd come in and threaten me. You better knock it off or I'm going to spank your ass. Okay. Kick it even harder.
Sure.
Slam the door. I'm going to remove your door. The door probably was removed several times. I mean, I did that with Shia too once.
Yeah.
It's like, slam that door again. It's coming off. You'll use privilege to privacy. I'm not perfect. There's sometimes where I'm like, okay, and I'll get a little bit louder, but there's not that violent attack that's, you know what I mean? Like, just immediately, like, you kind of can give a little look or something, and they kind of know.
Well, parenting, obviously the hardest job in the world. I think one of the most important things about parenting, or just about relationships in general, is creating a safe space.
Yes.
Right? Like, because as you were saying that, I had flashbacks to like 2 weeks ago when my son was just having a come apart, and I was like, okay, go to your room. Like, I don't want to hear it right now. And he did, right? He went to his room and just cried harder.
Yeah.
And it was heartbreaking. Eventually went in there and was like, okay, buddy, come on out. Let's fix this. Let's have a
right
good
there.
day.
It's huge. It's important.
Right. But it's creating that safe space to where they can feel like emotionally that they can just let loose.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Obviously there's boundaries and there's things that like you should and shouldn't do when you're emotional, right? But the more we allow them to feel, the more we allow our kids to feel, I feel like the more that they're going to understand what's appropriate. You know what I mean? Because it's not pent up. It's not just like, it's not just rising to the surface and just ready to explode. Because I remember feeling that way as a kid, where it's like, I am not allowed to express this or to do that. And I would have really angry outbursts.
Yep.
And as a teenager, like this crazy like wave would come over me, and I'm like how was I capable of being that mad? But it's because it's all pent up.
Sure.
And so creating that safe space is huge. And not only with your kids, but with romantic relationships or even with friendships.
Yeah. My great-grandpa, when he came to America, he came from Crete, Greece in 1912. And so I remember my mom saying when they were little, like, he'd come home and he'd be drunk or whatever, and they'd hide. They'd have like a hiding spot and stuff. Mm-hmm. So there's a bunch of that. My mom's my best friend. She's a saint. I love the woman. I think that she realizes it now, even like I helped her because she was so young, and I helped her with so many things and realized so many things because there's a lot of them that still have the stuff, the trauma, from all that they had to deal with when they were children. And I am so grateful she was strong enough to see that and break that. And now I don't think it's too late. It's not too late if you still have children, even if you're adults and you're a grandparent, and there's so many things. And I just think some people think it's too late, and it's like, that's not the case. And that's what I kind of want to like let people know, like, if you have this feeling or you have this thing, like, just reach out and try and figure it out. And sometimes it ends great and sometimes it doesn't, because the person's either ready to accept it and apologize or whatever they can do, or sometimes they're oblivious to it and they have no idea.
Yep.
You know, and
Exactly.
that hurts the person that's trying to get that closure or trying to heal from that tremendously. You have two choices. You can either accept what it is and what they can give you, or what, the closure or whatever, or you can let it upset you and make you mad, but it's only going to hurt you at the end of the day. So you're not hurting anybody else.
Exactly.
It's hurting you because you can't move past it or let it go or work through it, or and there's going to that. People don't have the tools to do that. They don't know how to do that. They can feel it, they want to do that,
Right.
but they need to figure out how to get there and what to do and how.
In what ways would you say that you have helped facilitate healing within your own family?
Just talking about it and being open. I've always been an open book. Like, I've always just been like, here I am, take me as I am, or, I love to hear other people's thought process, because there's so much ways to think about things. And the way, like, with social media and stuff, like, I feel like, or texting, there's so much, people take so much emotion into text messaging sometimes, or there's so much miscommunication. And it's
my gosh.
Okay.
Tell me about it. That was like, my whole last relationship.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, if you actually can get to the topic of, like, when you said this, I took it like this, and it's like, no, I didn't mean it like that. And so text messaging, in emailing, I mean, there's so many things. I'm like, let's talk. Like, for me, I love to talk. I love to connect with people. I think people are fascinating. We have our close, tight-knit, immediate family that I said I'm really close with. And then now everyone's kind of coming back to be that person that so many look up to. Like, I know I inspire them. They look up to me, and it's like,
oh, without a doubt,
whoa, I'm that girl. I love that. I want to be that for them. I think it's so important, and they can come to me and they can rely on me, and I can do what I can do and help them. It's huge. It's the best feeling ever.
It is. And I think a lot of that is credit to your vulnerability. Yeah. Because like you said, you're open. You're an open book. You can talk about pretty much anything, right? And that is, people are attracted to that. When it's like, oh, she's breaking that mold. That means that I can probably do the same thing.
Absolutely.
I can meet her at that spot up here, right? Because so many people stay on this like lower vibration where it's like, don't ask, don't tell. This is always how it's been.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. I hate that phrase.
Same.
I can't stand that phrase. Where we work, I think I hear that probably 45 times a day.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, it's very negative, and it's very like, this is the way it's always going to be. And that's not the case. Like, anyone has the power to change pretty much anything in their life.
They put their mind to.
Exactly.
100%.
Exactly. So yeah, I love that. Being vulnerable and just allowing yourself to be that beacon of light, because light attracts.
Oh yeah.
100%. The more you are your authentic self, the more you run into situations like that and get confirmations that you're on the right track.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Currently, right now, what do you think is the thing that you're focused on most in your healing journey?
Just being me. One of my best friends, she knows who she is. That woman is wise beyond her years. I mean, I met her going to cosmetology school. She was actually my instructor.
Nice.
And she's a jack of all trades. She's got everything going for her. And I remember we were just having this discussion the other day. And I said, do you know what I used to admire about you so much is that when we go out on our girl days and we go shopping and we get our Starbucks and we'd hit up Target, Home Goods, whatever. I was like, you just like didn't have like any restrictions. For me, I wanted to be that. That was my role model. It's like when people get their first celebrity crush. Well, I'll tell you what, she was my first. Absolutely. And to me, she is a celebrity. It's a little emotional for me because it's just like the love that I feel in my heart to be able to have somebody come to me and open up to me and talk to me. Being vulnerable, it's huge. Not everybody gets to have that experience all the time, or, and just in the past month, the people that have come into my life that are new and whatever, like, oh, they're just like, and this is not a conceited thing, but I've been told my entire life that I'm beautiful. And it took me a very long time to actually accept it and be like, wow, you actually are. And I think a lot of women, men, anybody, that's a hard thing to accept until you really can feel it. And you're like, I am. Like, that's true. I am. To actually feel it and think it and know it is just a whole different level.
Yes, absolutely. And that goes back to the the healing highlight video with me and Logan Pfeiffer,
Mm-hmm.
where we talked about just loving yourself and really truly like finding ways to do that. And once you love yourself, you're able to see your potential.
Yeah.
You're able to see like exactly what you can accomplish and like what your purpose is. Because that's been huge for me, is like understanding purpose throughout this whole thing. And once you understand your purpose, I think your soul can like settle down.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That's huge. I've struggled with weight my entire life. Okay. Now that you say that, and going back to, I called it my suicide weight, probably not the best thing to say, but I hit it and I was like, okay, this is it. This is over for me. I was sad. I was depressed. I was down. I was like, oh, poor me. I have this problem, you know?
Sure.
And since that day until this day, I can probably say, not even trying, but changing my mindset and changing ways of thinking and loving me. It's just going to where it needs to go.
Yes.
I've lost it, and I hope nobody finds it, because who wants to find that unless you need to?
Right.
I mean, it's huge,
Mm-hmm.
huge. And I'm just I'm more mindful of choices and decisions.
Yep.
And when you're down and you're negative and you have all this going on, you're blocked, you're foggy, there's
Mm-hmm.
clouds. It's like,
Yep.
you can't see why you're making, because everybody has a vice. You know what I'm saying? There's vices.
At least one.
At least.
Mm-hmm.
Or several.
Mm-hmm.
And no judgment. It's just understanding that and knowing what your vice was. I think it's a continued thing that you strive for, that you want. I just want to be that person for people so that they can be that person for the next person and the next, and just keep going on, because anybody's capable of it, of wherever you want to be and what you want to be and what you want to do.
It's the whole concept of pay it forward. And it's a lot of the reason that I started this channel. And I mean, for one, Heal in Real Life, it's about my journey. It's about the things that I'm going through. It's about the things that I've learned and the things that I am learning and working on. The biggest goal here is to inspire change within other people, because I know people are struggling with a lot of these things. I know people hurt. I know people are just in shambles internally.
Yeah.
And these things that we're talking about, my only wish is for people, for some kind of light bulb to go off in someone's head, and it to either start their healing journey or help start, or just give them that little nudge to continue their healing journey.
Yep.
Right? Because healing is hard and it is ugly. It is real down and dirty sometimes, but also there's enough like light and positivity to help you along and to give you that assurance that it's okay to keep going.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's not just this grudging like slog fest of an experience. It's a beautiful experience that has its ups and downs.
So you went to the light bulb. My thing was the aha moments. Like, it just
Mhm.
clicks. Aha. I love those moments. They're wonderful.
Yeah.
And when people film and they know what I'm talking about, oh my gosh, I had an aha moment. I'm like, tell me about it. Let's
Mhm.
hear it. Are you wanting me to share? I want to know.
Totally.
I'm excited, you know?
Totally. Thanks so much for coming.
Of course.
It was-
Thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure to have you and to hear your story and to hear your insights. And this will be coming out on Wednesday. Like I said in the last video, I am changing my release schedule from Monday, Thursday to Monday, Wednesday. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. And until I see you next, chin up, deep breath. Let's heal in real life.